Hello, everybody. Happy Monday as we get our tech set up here. Welcome to the Art of Inspired Selling. I'm the host, Katherine Evans, where I interview successful B2B entrepreneurs that are not just surviving in this new time, but they're actually thriving. And it's my goal to interview them to find a teachable moment where they can bring their subject matter expertise to you, and you can take some nugget, some tip, implement it immediately so that you too can not just survive in this new time, but thrive. So today I have a guest. His name is Barry, and Barry Demp owns his own executive coaching business. I'm going to pull over his a little bit about Barry. So he's worked with over thousands of individuals as a business and executive coach for the past 23 years. So when we're talking about people that are not just surviving, they're thriving, he's the real deal. He's based in Troy, Michigan, and has earned the distinction of a Master's Certified Coach from the International Coach Federation in 1999. He works with executives, business owners, and high potential professionals to help them significantly increase their productivity, profitability, and life balance. We all strive for that, right? I know that I'm having trouble right now, so I hope he's going to walk me through some tips. So Barry conducts workshops, seminars, speaking engagements, and he builds customized coaching programs which foster a comprehensive and holistic approach to individual and organizational development, assuring practical applications on both professional and personal levels. So I'd like to bring on my guest, Barry. We're going to be, I'm actually going to shut down his website here, and we have a document that we're going to be sharing and going through. So I'm going to get that large and in charge. And without further ado, I'm going to bring on my guest, Barry. Hi. How are you?
Good afternoon. I'm terrific.
Wonderful. So let's get our chat ready, because I know that we've invited a lot of people. Between the two of us, I think we probably have about 40,000 eyeballs that could potentially have come on to the watching our show. I'm still waiting for LinkedIn Live. I've got it ready in my restream, but they haven't let me in yet. So tell me, Barry, where are you coming live from today? Are you at your home in Michigan?
Yep, I'm actually working out of my home office in Rochester Hills, Michigan, which is a suburb of Detroit.
Okay. I've been to Detroit a few times, both in the cold and in the warm, trying to make sure my camera's set up because we had a little, you never know what format people are using. So, Barry, as you may know, to come onto the show, I ask my guests, what is it that inspires you to be the best version of yourself? Is it, how do you get up in the morning? What causes that grind, that grit that helps you keep going? Quotes, books, inspiration, people that you consider mentors. What is it that keeps you going?
Well, yes. So what gets
there's
me up in the
list. I'm sure there's a list. So let's go.
Sure. What gets me up in the morning is I have a very purposeful life. So when I look at all of my communities, my family, and my work, I am a lifelong learner. I come from a family of teachers, and I've always been both a teacher and a student throughout my life. In fact, my first career out of college, I was a science teacher. So I wanted to be a wizard and blow things up and have the kids say, wow, how did that work? So for me, a day without learning something new is not a really good day. And the idea of both learning for myself and paying it forward and sharing it with other people, both professionally and personally, really drives me. So helping people lead more fulfilling, more satisfying, more abundant, and accomplished lives is very much what gets me leaping out of bed.
And that just hits me right in my sweet spot, right? So those are the people that I want to attract to be on this show. The people that want to lead with giving, you know, I don't know if we can tag it or label it servant leadership, but just give, right? We're here. We have things in common, the quotes, wanting to give more than we receive, and the note will just come back to us. I love all of that, Barry. So what was it that branched you from starting as a science teacher to going into your own company? Was there some moment that in time that changed? Tell me a little bit about that transition.
Well, the story goes, I taught in the Philadelphia public school system for 2 years. And I remember I made $154 a week. And the reason I remember that is they laid me off because of declining enrollments. And I actually collected $156 a week on unemployment. So after that actually happened 2 years in a row, they actually rehired me back. I didn't see a lot of continuity and stickiness and sustainability to the formal educational system. Mm-hmm. So I took my science background and my educational interest, and I secured a job with the pharmaceutical company Upjohn, which is actually a small piece of Pfizer Pharmaceuticals. And
I had my first pharmaceutical interview with Upjohn in 1985. Wow. 89. Yep. So I'm familiar with them. They don't exist anymore, right?
Yeah. Yep. I actually took a buyout after 12 and a half years with that company. So my background is sales and marketing and advertising and some product management. And I had a great career there from the ages of, let's say, 22 to the age of about 35. Mm-hmm. But when you point to a single event, it was actually the 1992 Olympic Games in Barcelona, Spain, that inspired me to be a coach. So I just love the idea of gold medals and being the best you can be, right?
Yes.
And where else is there a better example than Olympic athletes winning a gold medal in their sport? But I thought, what an interesting correlation. There's 5,000 athletes in Spain, and there's 2,000 coaches. Something special must be going on. So I realized that for gold medal performance in a sport, every single one of those people worked with a coach. Mm-hmm. And I thought, what a great idea. Somebody should do that for business people and for people in general. So that was an idea that hit me like a ton of bricks, like, aha. And if you point your finger at somebody, there's 3 fingers pointing right back at you. It says, oh, there's no such thing. I guess I should do that, or I should invent it. So in some odd way, I thought I kind of invented coaching back in 1992. And within about 6 months, the company offered a buyout. One of those where they give you a week of pay for every year you have.
Yes.
And a second week,
right? Yeah.
And a second week if you promise not to sue them.
Right.
So I said, I'll take that. And people said, well, what are you going to do? So I basically said, I'm going to be a business coach. And everybody proceeded to say, what's that? So I didn't make a single penny for about 3 months. Things started to hit. And all of a sudden, I was off to the races. I found out about the International Coach Federation in 1996. Jumped on an airplane, went to a conference, and met my people, as they say. And then 3 years later, I applied to get my master's certification in coaching. And I've been a very active participant in the coaching community here in Michigan. It seems like since 1996, so basically 24 years.
Wow. And so I do meet coaches, the coaching industry. When do you think it really took off? Right now, everybody's some sort of a coach, right? Life coach, business coach, spiritual coach. I don't know, lemonade making coach. There's coaches for everything. I have a whole funny story around me wanting to start this like coachingmatch.com website. But so what do you really feel that coaching certification gives someone versus someone that says they're a coach that doesn't have that certification? Because I've had those conversations with people, with some women in my entrepreneurial groups where they say, I can't start talking to people because I don't have a coaching certification. And, some people have said, well, don't worry about a coaching certification because the students aren't going to ask for it. But I'm sure you're a proponent for it because you've been with that coaching federation for so long. So what do you think that coaching federation gives people or the industry that would be valuable for our audience to know about? Well,
if you look at any profession, let's say you're a physician or an accountant. So if you are a certified public accountant, there's a threshold of expertise that's associated. If you're a board-certified cardiologist or surgeon, there's a credential and a relevancy and credibility to that. So the ICF is a nonprofit organization. It has been around for over 25 years, and they set the global standard for coaching. And based upon that standard, there are core competencies and ethics and practices that are just essential to practice that profession at the highest possible level. So I just actually this afternoon, I saw the newest survey. There are approximately 71,000 coaches worldwide. It is almost a $3 billion industry. And as you mentioned, the barriers of entry are very low. Mm-hmm. And yet, because of the transparency of our industry, more and more major academic institutions, Georgetown, University of Texas, University of Michigan, the level of professionalism in this realm is going up tremendously. So you can't fake it till you make it. And although people may give good advice and really provide consulting or even mentoring skills, a coaching skill set is very distinctive and very complementary with mentoring and with consulting.
Okay, well, there's our answer. There's our answer. And I'm sure everybody has heard of that federation. So they can look at it later and find out if there's anything that they need. So tell us a little bit, Barry, about some unique things about yourself and about what you're going to deliver to the audience today as far as your success best practices. And I'll be sharing that in the graphics that I put for the show on whatever platform. If you're on Twitter, Twitch, wherever you're listening to the program, there I put a bit.ly there so you can download the handout that Barry's going to talk about today. But what else, Barry, what really do you think sets you apart from other executive coaches that's led to your success today? Give me a little bit about your unique value proposition that makes you different.
Sure. Well, there's a reason I went into the field of coaching, and that has to do with the fact that I was originally a school teacher. So if you look at traditional forms of education, we go to class, we study their textbooks, we listen to the teacher, we take notes, and we prepare for our examination. Mm-hmm. And we're all ready to go, and we take the exam in multiple choice and essays, and we get our grade. And 2 weeks later, if we ask most students what they remember and what they learn, the answer is very little.
Yep, I study for short-term testing. Absolutely.
So for me, the relevancy and credibility of coaching is that it's sticky, it's sustainable, and it's as highly relevant to the projects and front burner issues and relationships that people have. So in some ways, when somebody hires me, it's like having their own professor, their own classroom, their own individual. And when we work together, we will meet literally for 6 months every single week, either in person or by phone or Zoom, and discuss exactly what they want to talk about. So if they have a sales issue, if they have a leadership issue, if they're managing people, if they're coaching and mentoring others, if they're working on managing their time or building their networks or working on whatever it may be. I like to say I'm Santa Claus. And I say, well, what do you want for Christmas? And then I say, what else and what else and what else? And in that answer, they're declaring the areas of focus, the areas of value that they want to pursue. And that's what we partner around. So it's highly relevant, it's on the court, it's experiential in real time. And it's not a one and done thing where you get a piece of information and a tip in the technique. So what I hope we would do today is go through that list of some of the 24 success best practices that I've observed and go into some depth and identify resources and approaches to that best practices so that your listeners and viewers can actually do a deeper dive and follow up on those areas of greatest value. So in some ways, I hope that through interacting with you, this will be a large group coaching session.
Yes. I'm hoping too. Where are you people? Our chat is open. Let's hear from you. We have, we had about 600 views in a couple of hours of the show, and people said they were going to be here. So I don't know where they are. Give us a shout if you're here. All right. So I'm going to share my screen so we can see the document. Oh, let's see. maybe for a second, oh, I can't go off air. There. We can just share this for a few minutes. And you can talk to us a little bit about the success best practices here.
Okay. Well, let's assume for the time being that you're the only person on this phone call. You're just the only one. And when you look and read down that list, what I'd like you to personally do is, once you've read it, which of those are you curious about? Which of those are you interested in? And then we can go deeper, as opposed to me go in some order or whatever that would be. So is there something that stands out or something intrigues you about any of those success best practices? And hopefully through our dialogue and providing some content, you can walk away with certain actionable things you can do after our call in order to pursue that deeper in your own area of personal interest.
Oh, goodness. Like I have a candy store here and I have to choose one.
No, you can choose all 24, but
we just don't have time.
Well, just pick one and then we'll pick another one.
Hold on. Remove the tolerations in your life. Let's start with that. That sounds like a good one. Let me hide the thing so we can come back on. So remove the tolerations in your life.
So I first learned about the word toleration from a coach. His name was Thomas Leonard, and he was the founder of an organization called Coach University, as well as Coachville. So he's considered by some people like the founding father of modern coaching.
Okay.
Unfortunately, he's not alive anymore. But when he introduced this idea of a toleration, it's this idea that something literally that we put up with that drains our energy. So it could be as simple as a dripping faucet, or an itchy sweater, or a cluttered drawer that won't open, a dirty car, just something, a button that fell off your blouse, or whatever it would be. So when we look at our environment, there's things that we tolerate, we put up with. And those can be things like our clutter or our home and so on. But it could also be we're tolerating people.
Yes.
That happen to be negative or toxic or abusive or angry or even just pessimistic. So when we look at the tolerations in our world, physically and relationally, we can actually start reducing that. So, I used to have hair, but when my hair got really long, it bothered me. So whenever I got a haircut, I felt better. Or when I get into my car and if it's not as neat as I'd like it to be, I always feel better when my car is washed.
Yes,
or something
I agree.
Like that. Or when your lawn is mowed or something like that. So physically, we can look at our world at what are we putting up with? What do we complain about? What nags on us? And then how do we actually remove some of those or lessen those things so that we stand up a little bit taller and have a little bit more energy there? So you could say, who and what are we tolerating? And how could we remove some of those things so that we, kind of navigate the world a little bit more effortlessly?
So would you do with one of your clients a brain dump about all of those things that frustrate you or all the people that frustrate you, and they would make a whole list and brain dump those things?
A brain dump is an excellent exercise. So I would say, well, what about your office are you putting up with? Is it your file cabinets are too full? You have 3,000 emails that you haven't responded to?
That's a big one for me. Yep.
But it could it could be your basement, it could be your garage, it could be other things like that. But when we look at our space, when we look at our environments, what clogs us up and has us be somewhat diminished in terms of that. And there are people who are hoarders and collectors and things of that sort. But also, one of the strongest and most important thing is they say we're the combination of the top 5 people we hang out with.
Mm-hmm.
And if we have parents or teachers or siblings or spouses that just kind of grate on us or nag on us or whatever that may be, is there ways that we can either improve those relationships so they're more optimal, or actually remove ourselves and lessen the impact that they might have on us.
And isn't that great when you become an entrepreneur that you can actually remove those relationships? I mean, as an employee, you tend to just have to deal with it unless you remove yourself from the company, right? And not a lot of people, especially in this time, we don't have the opportunity to do that. But yeah, that's one of the things I've enjoyed most about having my own company is that if somebody doesn't serve me or I don't serve them and we're not on the same page and, you know, getting on a Zoom with them or something is, you know, they don't serve you well. So it's easier to be in control when you run your own business. So,
well, Catherine, we spend so much time engaged in our work. You know, one of the quotes I like very much is, "Time is the coin of life." And if we notice how we spend it,
I'll put that in our comments here,
and who we spend it with, that makes up a big part of our lives.
Yes.
So as you said, when we work for somebody else or an organization, we don't always get to choose what we do or choose who we do those things with. And we may have to tolerate those things just because it pays the mortgage. But an entrepreneurial spirit says, you know, I want to go in my own unique direction. I want to pursue my strength and my unique abilities and my things that inspire me. And I want to work with people that are like-valued and like-minded and principle-based and so on.
Yeah.
So therefore, you leap out of bed in the morning and say, I can't wait to work with these people doing these things.
It's so much different, right? It's like, how much earlier can I get up tomorrow to do the things I love, right? The spirit, the energy, the joy, it's such a different, and yeah, I just have a little baby story about that. So as you know, I'm interviewing people for my live stream, and those people that I interview need to be of like mind with me. They want, like we just said, they need to give. They want to give. They may be famous, whatever, but their value is still leading with giving. And so I just was talking about this person that I wanted on the show, and I said, part of my process is I need to talk to you for 15 minutes to make sure that you're a good fit. I want to make sure that we are in agreement with everything. And this person is like a time coach. And they said, no, if you want me on the show, you just book me and I'll be there at the time provided. Right? So as much as I'd like to have that person as a guest, it doesn't fit in line with me and my values and my ability to establish that rapport with my guests and understand them and understand what motivates them before I get them on the show. So that person's not going to be a guest, right?
Well, that's why you and I are talking.
Right.
Because we are kindred souls.
And you guys don't know this, Barry will talk about his quotable book. And some of you can subscribe. You know what I should do? Well, I can't do that right now because I just shut your website down, but you can subscribe to tell us a little bit about that, your weekly quote or daily quote that goes out that people can subscribe to.
Well, as a business and personal coach, when I work with people, I like the idea of digging one hole really deep and making a really big dent and a really big impact with that individual. Because this idea of producing results through other people, if that person has a team or works in an organization, my impact on that individual and their influence in their communities is going to make a big difference. Mm-hmm. So about 9 years ago, I shared with one of my clients one of my favorite quotes. And the quote is, when patterns are broken, new worlds will emerge. And that's very fundamental to the idea of coaching. Because if you want a new world to emerge, you have to be prepared to break some patterns.
So I'm putting that one down too. When patterns are broken, new worlds
emerge.
So
the thought about that was, well, instead of me working with 20 people or so, what if I could provide these quotes and these coaching commentaries and even some exercises so that people could all apply that? Mm-hmm. So on a daily basis, I have people that go to thequotablecoach.com and they sign up. And then they get a confirmation, say, I am not a robot. I still would like to get this. And I say, that's wonderful. So they sign up, they confirm, and the next morning they will get a quote, a photograph, a coaching commentary, and an exercise that can be read in under a minute. But the idea of that, the book that I created based upon that series is called The Quotable Coach, Daily Nuggets of Practical Wisdom. So we assembled 365 of them. Each page is its own idea. So for that time-starved individual that has 1 minute or less and they're not going to give you any more, that's who it's for. So when I sent it out to the subscribers, that's terrific. And as you mentioned, LinkedIn, I've been using LinkedIn since 2003, and those people who are connected with me get to see it in their feed, as well as Facebook and Twitter.
Yeah,
so the idea is that little nugget of wisdom. These quotes are not my quotes. They're quotes from famous people, and they're very thought-provoking and provocative. But the key is digging in and relating, and how does that apply to me? And then the exercise allows them to take it into their own world and make it their own. So that 1 little minute nugget allows people to get coached for free.
Complimentary in my world. Complimentary.
Complimentary.
And so, I do mine as well. Mine are called the Llama Corn Wisdom because my mythical creature Frida is the one that gives out all that wisdom. But I do the same. It's just wonderful, and we have that in common. So, should we choose another one of the 25 to talk about?
Go for it.
Okay. Oh, we did that. Be a work in, okay, let's circle this one. Be a work in progress, always be learning. Oh, let me share it, you guys, so you can see the number 17 here. Be a work in progress, always be learning.
So just for the audience, if they email me, barry@dempcoaching.com, I will send them all 24 of these success best practice in this document so that they can actually have it too.
Okay.
So this idea,
it's in the link, so they can also just click the link in the show description, and it's a shareable Google Doc, so they can see it.
Perfect. That's great. So this idea of a work in progress, are you better today because you learned something than you were yesterday? So for me, a day without learning something, I'm one of those people that likes documentaries and educational programs, and I ask my Google Home, how far is it from the Earth to the Mars? Because I watched the show called Away the other night.
Me too. I watched that. Mars. Yeah, I watched that too.
So this idea of I am learning, I am growing, I am getting better, but specifically in the areas of greatest interest. So for instance, if you look at every single role you have in your life, so you may be a spouse, you may be a mother, you may be a daughter, you're a friend, you're a business colleague. Well, in that role, how you doing? If you gave yourself an ABC grade, how do you step it up? So this idea of being intentional about your growth trajectory and discussing that perhaps with a colleague or a mentor or a coach to simply say, I want to improve my relationships. I want to get better at sales and business development and networking. One of the things that I make available to people on this call is I have 3 free workbooks. One of them is on masterful networking. Mm-hmm. It's 25 pages. One is on masterful relationships, 25 pages or so. And the last one is on time management strategies and tactics. Because the one thing that's true is we're all allotted 24 hours a day.
And it's how you use those hours that sets you apart from the competition. That's what I say every day. Yeah.
So how we allocate that time and how we allocate our energies, our physical and mental and emotional and spiritual energies, allows us to move the world and do, as you and I both agree, contribute. Mm-hmm. And to be that giver. Where what if everybody did that?
Right. Instead of taking, right? Just it would create amazing energy, amazing interactions, heart-to-heart, soulful interactions with people. So because when you lead and you give, you're present when you're listening to someone, right? Because if you're interacting to give versus take, you're listening to what the other person's saying and you're connecting with them, right? You're using your two ears. Versus if you're gonna take by trying to sell them something, all you're thinking about in your head is what you're gonna say next. So you never really hear and connect with that person. Right? Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. There's actually a great book that I recommend to my clients. It's by Adam Grant, Grant.
I'll write it over here.
Adam Grant is a professor at the Wharton School of Business at the University of Pennsylvania. His book has this very unique title. It simply is entitled Give and Take. And it's excellent. And he uses all the research and all the studies to literally prove that the givers of this world, especially when they take care of their own well-being, are actually more successful, more fulfilled, and more accomplished in their lives.
Nice. Maybe it's another book I have to read. I have so many in my Kindle that I have to start and then I don't go on. That's why Audible is great. Thank you for creating Audible, whoever did it. It was a wonderful, wonderful invention. So this is what I've been working on, and I've been given credit for it lately. We'll share this again, is number 10, take massive action.
Terrific. So if you or anybody wants to be more successful, there's a 3-letter acronym that I would like you to write down. The acronym is capital A, capital S, and capital K. The A stands for action, the S stands for skill, and the K stands for knowledge. So we're only going to deal with the A part of that because that's action.
So and I'm taking notes, people. I always tell you to have a pen out. Yes.
So okay. Let's use the metaphor or the analogy of baseball. And you're kind of an average baseball player where you get 2 hits every 10 times you get up at bat. So you're batting 200. Now, what that batter will do is they will practice and practice and practice and practice and practice against fastballs, sliders, curveballs, and so on. And eventually, through their activity, they become more skillful and more knowledgeable about these different kinds of pitches. Mm-hmm. So now, if I take massive action, my batting average goes up to 300. I get 3 hits out of every 10 instead of 2. So even if you're a beginner, we always have some control of the allocation of our time. When I was a rookie pharmaceutical sales representative, I didn't know very much. I wasn't very skilled. But what I lacked in skills and knowledge, I made up for in a willingness to work very, very hard. So I would make more calls and meet more doctors and try.
One more call, just one more call, right?
And the veteran pharmaceutical reps would get angry at me because I could report that I made 8 or 9 calls instead of 6 because I made them look bad. See, they had something over me, and that was they were far more knowledgeable and far more skillful. But eventually, through massive action, which I controlled, I became more skillful and more knowledgeable. So for your listeners and viewers, if you look at your current level of activity, we can step it up. If we look at our level of skill, so let's say the skill is leadership skills or management skills or coaching skills or relationship skills and communication, we can get better at that. If you have a CRM system to manage all the people and the contacts that you have, then we can become more knowledgeable by having a database of websites and LinkedIn profiles and Twitter feeds and other things so that we can learn a lot about these people and see the basis of our relationship with them. So this idea of act your way into greater skills and greater knowledge allows you to be more successful.
I like that. And I have a business coach too, and she says take bold action, right? And another mentor that I repeat a lot, which is ready, fire, aim. So if you're not taking action, you'll never know, right? What's 0 from 0 is 0. if you're not even trying, then you'll never know. Don't guess, find out. Right.
So think about that idea of ready, fire, aim. If you're an archer and you have your bow and arrow, and you take your first pull of that arrow and let go, and you see where it hits the target, and let's say it hits on one of those outer rings, we adjust, we get feedback from the world so that we change our aim and take another shot, change our aim and take another shot. So they say even if you shoot for the moon and miss, you'll land among the stars.
Yep. It's you still did something. You still took some action, and you're going to learn from it. And maybe it's a guy thing where everybody says fail fast. Like it's important.
Well, Catherine, one thing that your listeners can do is turn sales and business development, if that's an interest of theirs, into a game.
I think you saw that I'm connected to Cynthia Barnes, the founder of NAWSP, right? So I'm so sorry about that. I do have dogs. So I'm a mentor for the National Organization of Women Sales Professionals. So that's what I do. And a lot of the followers here are salespeople. So you're speaking to the crowd, not just B2B entrepreneurs or solopreneurs, who are all salespeople anyway, but also there's a whole world out there of sales professionals that I love to support. So go ahead. What were you going to say?
So, one of the things that we get a little bit disempowered with sometimes is when we do take action and it doesn't work. We don't ring the cash register, or somebody says no, or where they're dealing with COVID and they have budget issues or economic issues and so on. But we always control our activity. So what my clients can do and what I encourage them to do is turn their activity into points. So
turn their activity into points.
So let's say you made a phone call and you just called and left a message. You'd get a point for that. Okay. Even if you didn't talk to them. And let's say you did talk to them. So you get 2 points. And let's say you set up a follow-up meeting to have a greater dialogue. Or let's say you reach out through LinkedIn and invite somebody and they accept, and then you have a meeting and then you meet in person and then they hire you. All of these different behaviors that are correlated with the actions that precede a sale, let's create a point system. So you could say, I had a 25-point day or a 65-point week. And the more valuable thing. So one thing I do is I have what we call a discovery meeting, which is an intentional meeting to explore the possibility of hiring me. Mm-hmm. Are we a good fit? And are we clear that the value is great enough that you're in? Well, having a meeting like that is worth more than just picking up a phone call and making a cold call, so to speak.
So do you get 10 points for
that? Absolutely. You get 10 points. And let's say somebody does hire you. You get a new client. You get 100 or whatever it is, and if you want to add points for every dollar or whatever it is, you can make up your own game. But there's something about being playful and gamifying something. Mm-hmm. In fact, there's a book that's called Super Better, and it's about the gamification and how gamers don't quit. They know that they're going to have another life. So unless an activity is going to kill you or you're going to lose some kind of body part, taking that risk and going outside that proverbial comfort zone and taking those actions and keeping score is a way to feel empowered at the end of the day, to say, yes, I had a day filled with action.
Nice. What's the name of that book again? I'll put that in the notes too.
That book is called Super Better.
Super Better.
And they actually have an online community, but Super Better is a big yellow book, and it's for people at every different stage of life. This could be people who have disabilities that simply say, how can I play a game where I am better than I was yesterday, even if that means I walked across the room or I was able to shower myself or whatever I was able to do.
And that's really important, as I like to say, something I stand for, right, is measuring your success to your own self. Because one of the things I've done in the past, which I realized as a sales representative, is that I measured my success to that of the company. that I worked for, and people in pharmaceutical sales, or it just happened to me again, right? During COVID, the entire department was completely wiped out. So if you tie your success to that of the company and to that of actions of things that are completely out of your control, then you're setting yourself up for loss, right? For not reaching somebody else's yardstick of measurement of success. But if you're just one day better, you wake up one day earlier, you run 1 mile farther, right? All of those things are, you're measuring your own success. And I just laughed. I posted on, I think, my personal Facebook page that, and I'm very competitive, so I time block in my calendar said it's time to work out, right? And I was laughing and I screenshot it, and I felt like I was winning because I was already 1 mile into my run for the day. So I had competed with myself and won for the day, right? Starting those little sales, starting those little things that you win are just like fabulous.
You're pointing to the power of habit or even daily rituals that serve you. So whether it's waking up early or meditating or doing yoga or taking a walk, or making your meals ahead of time, or getting to bed on time, or just watching a documentary instead of bad reality TV, or whatever it would be. We are a product of what we repeatedly do. So this idea of ongoing habits and rituals and behaviors. So what do successful people do? Oh, well, maybe I could just do that and start slow.
Yeah. One thing more at a time, right? So I think we might have, well, we really don't have time for one more. So as we wrap, Barry, tell me a little bit. I always like to ask my guests, what else would you like for them to implement today? Maybe something from this list. Is there something you would like for them to implement? Yeah.
Absolutely. And I'm going to take a concept from a personal growth and development guru that's been around. He's probably well into his 70s. His name is Brian Tracy, but Brian Tracy says there are these 4 magic words that if we apply those 4 magic words to our life, we will be more successful. And the words are simple. The first word is more. To do more of something, to have more of something. The second word is less. So if something we're tolerating, could we remove some of it or lessen its impact?
Mm-hmm.
The next word I really, really like, and that's the word start. What are you going to do that you've never done before? You're going to begin and start something new and energetic and amazing. And the last word is the toughest, but probably one of the most important, and that word is stop. We need to make room in our lives by stopping some things so that we can make room for the more and make room for the start of the better life we wish to have.
That's all so valuable, right? Like, what can you take? Maybe if there was one thing I would do for myself, right, is what could I take out of my life today? Because I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed with the way my business is growing and the things that I have to do. What could I take out, right? That's just a placeholder, that's maybe habitual, that isn't serving me today like it was in the past. So that's what I'm going to do. That's my takeaway from today is taking something away. So,
well, there's the term being selfish, which isn't being selfish. It means do everything you can do to take care of yourself, Catherine, so that you can serve the people you love and you care about and that you want to give to. So the better you are, the greater contribution you will make. So making sure you eat well and sleep well and have recharge your batteries is absolutely essential for you to make the difference you want to make too. And yes. I want to thank you personally for the opportunity to both know you and to speak with you on our program today.
Well, thank you, Barry. Yeah, it's same. We're going to say it's. I'm sure it's been a pleasure for me. So now we have in the handout here at the top. Oh, yes, here at the top of the handout, everybody can see it's dempcoaching.com. How you can get a hold of Barry at dempcoaching.com. Tell me a little bit if how are you working with people right now? Are you doing group coaching? Are you doing one-on-one? Are you doing webinar, master classes? How if people are interested in working with you, how is it that they can do that?
Well, all education is personal, so I almost always work with very high potentials, highly motivated people. On that website, dempcoaching.com, there's a lot of preliminary assessments that help make sure that I'm a good fit for them and they're a good fit for me.
Mm-hmm.
And it also will help them clarify the developmental journey they want to take for themselves or their organization. So that beginning process, which is a complementary process, allows them to make sure the fit and the chemistry is excellent and the value is clear to the point of this is priceless. But I work with individuals as well as teams, as well as organizations, but usually starts with that advocate, that champion that
Mm-hmm.
really wants to take that ownership of, if it is to be, it begins and ends with me. So if you're a kick butt kind of person, I'd like to talk to you.
Yes, and if you're in our network collectively, we're going to assume that they're kick butt people, right?
You bet.
That's the kind of people we want to hang with. All right, so thanks. Hang on, Barry, but as I wrap the show, thank you everybody for tuning in today. Thank you for tuning in and finding the value that Barry had. Make sure to download the list of different items that you can see. This week we have 2 shows coming up, so make sure you tune in. Next week we have some big guests as well. We have Dr. Ivan Meisner, from the founder of BNI, coming on the show. We have, oh my gosh, we have a rapper, we have a speaker, we have a producer, we have authors. The show is just off the charts for me, with the wonderful people like Barry that have decided to come onto the show and give value. And the other thing that we're doing, I don't know if you guys remember, I had a guest named Chalid who was on the show. She's the repositioning expert. And Barry, you might see this in some people when you start to work with them, is that they're a little bit all over the board. They're not super clear on their target market. They get up to maybe do an elevator pitch and they fall flat because they want to be all things to all people, and they're not very clear on that. I'm not sure if you see it, but I do when I do a lot of discovery calls with people. So if you are a listener to the Art of Inspired Selling, or you're in my network, Chala is doing this wonderful boot camp coming up, and she's giving all of my listeners and guests VIP access, which allows you to have a 1-hour one-on-one with her to work on your positioning statement, which for me, that would be fabulous. So I will put that in the show notes as well. We have a landing page built so that you guys make sure to get the VIP access. And thank you, Chella, so much for giving that generous gift out to my listeners, viewers, and network. So as always, thank you guys for tuning in. I will see you again this week on another fabulous show. And once again, Barry, thank you so much for being a guest. It was a pleasure.